Yeah, surf the beat cause the bass is bubbling. Gotta get it in before it comes tumbling down. There's only so much time to find this kind of rhyme to express my mind. Cause everything that has ever been
Sweet Christmas. Hello and welcome once again, you jive turkeys, to the CageCast. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend,
Mozz.
Hey Mozz, glad to have you here. So tonight's episode 2 of Luke Cage, Code of the Streets, directed by Paul McGuigan, and written again by Mr. Coker. Now, it's Chio Hodari Coker, who is the creator and the writer. Not sure if anyone else is getting any credits on these. Those credits may come later. Okay, so Mozz, now you were not sold on
episode 1.
You were not sold on episode 1. How do you feel about episode 2?
Well, I gotta say I'm starting to come around.
Okay.
The world seems more cohesive, and it felt like it wasn't more just a collection of different cool scenes, but they all sort of fit together in a broader world. And that in that world, all of this makes sense. So I'm starting to get that feeling. And a lot of the performances seem more genuine. A lot of the dialogue between characters seemed more real. So I was kind of sucked in a little bit more.
Okay, well, now that's good. That is good. This is our, for our listeners at home, do know that this is a spoiler-full podcast. We will be talking about the whole episode. I don't know why you're listening to this episode if you haven't seen episode 2 yet. We're going to try and keep it to episode 2, but stuff may seep in. And to that extent, this is our Uncle Ben episode. I don't know how much you read comics, Mozz, but of course the iconic moment in Marvel Comics history is, of course, Uncle Ben, who is Peter Parker's uncle. Yeah, he's the one who tells him,
everybody knows Uncle.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility.
They made 6 movies about it already.
Yeah, well, they cut him out of the next one, so people are sick of Uncle Ben. But of course, here we have Pops, who is serving as Luke Cage's Uncle Ben. And I got to tell you, when I first watched this episode and they killed Pops, I mean, it was gut-wrenching for me. I mean, I was like, whoa, second episode and Pops dies? It's like, I really thought this character was at least going to make it to 3 or 4. Because he is serving the elderly magical figure character who, gives guidance. And we know that probably at some point he is going to die. I was not expecting him to die so quickly. I was not expecting him to die really so meaninglessly,
Yeah.
And when you look at it as this, I mean, obviously, I guess it's not so much meaningless because there is a grander context that's presented at the end of it. But it really struck me as I remember watching it for the first time and going, oh, I cannot believe that just happened. The wanton destruction of that scene, okay, I can buy that. This is a comic book movie or comic book TV series. You're going to have wanton destruction. But to see, Pops be the victim of it is really shocking to me.
Yeah, it had a very Ned Stark feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so but that is at it's not quite the end of our episode. That's actually at almost about 3/4 through the episode. The other thing that I think is interesting about this episode, which gets again repeated next episode, is the circular narrative that we have, where we open up with a scene that essentially is our closing scene as well. Where he's out in front of the Crispus Attucks. I'm not quite sure what the Crispus Attucks building is supposed to be, if it's a community center, if it's like an armory, or what exactly it's supposed to be, except for the fact that obviously it is central to the operations of Mariah and Cornell. But we open up with Luke in front of the building, and of course, one of the young toughs working for Cornell comes up, holds a gun to his head to sort of interrogate him, and then we get the backstory.
Wait, hold up. The guy holding the gun to him, that was somebody working for, or was it just like a random hooligan looking to rob somebody? Because I didn't catch it. Was it the same guy as?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, obviously, there's no way to know for certain exactly if he is random or if he is.
Okay.
Employed. I assume he is employed. Because someone's standing out there and someone says, "Hey, you, Fred, go check out that guy who's standing out there because he may be up to something. Sneak up on him and be cool about it." He could have been just a random mugger that would exist and be a part of the violent and chaotic world in which Marvel Comics television shows exist. But in my best guess is he is an employee.
That makes sense.
And the real key that he's most likely an employee is that he doesn't ask him for his wallet or anything. So he's not trying to roll Luke Cage per se. He's just wants to know why he's there and, let him know he better get out of the way because, I've got a gun and those usually are quite intimidating. But not if you're bulletproof.
Right.
So that's our opening scene. And then we get a flashback to the rest of the episode, which, of course, at the end of the last episode, we had Luke essentially deciding to stand up to the villains, if it were, Cottonmouth's, Cornell. He doesn't like to be called Cottonmouth. Cornell's crew who had been doing shakedowns as part of the local protection racket. And again, for what it's worth, just complete lack of subtlety of the criminals in this universe. It's like, hey, we're criminals. Take our flyer. Later, we're going to come back and, hey, remember that flyer? That's because we're looking for donations,
Right.
Criminals are not necessarily the best.
Well, yeah, but I think it's also interesting that it sort of implies the relationship with politics, to say that this isn't sort of just like the old school mafia or like street gangs looking for, protection money. This is actually your politicians, you know.
Well, it's always important to remember that, corruption is universal. And as anyone who's lived on the East Coast knows, everyone's in bed with someone, and there's a lot of cruelty from above that gets pushed down to below. And it's not, it's an interesting aspect of this, because this is, now, I don't know how much you saw of any of the other series on the Marvel Netflix universe, Mozz. I don't know if you watched Daredevil. Yeah,
Daredevil was amazing. I absolutely love it. Jessica Jones, I thought, was okay, so I sort of stopped watching halfway through the season. But yeah, Daredevil I've seen.
Yeah, okay. So, and that's good, because Daredevil actually has this central point that I wanted to touch on here. One of the points of Daredevil, if you watch it, and to be fair, if you watch Daredevil as a show called Fisk, I think it's a much different show, and it's much more, in many ways, a kind of a more interesting show. One of the things that Fisk says is, it's not the way it's supposed to be, that it's supposed to be, the idea of organized crime as an actual organizing structure in the universe. I don't know if you've ever read Dave Barry Does Japan, and I don't know how much you should ever value a book written by Dave Barry as a proper cultural icon or cultural analysis of a society. But he does make some interesting points about the Yakuza in Japan, and the idea that, by and large, there is sort of this, because Japanese culture is very structured, there is this idea that, the Yakuza, are just the guys that handle the criminal activities. And so, it's within this tolerable, swath of society that they exist. And I don't know how true that is. I think that's largely a bold-faced lie on the point of Dave Barry, and mostly his privileged observation of Oriental culture. But I think that the mythos of it, the mythos of the organized crime, is the driving force behind so many, especially criminal narratives. And you look at a guy like Tony Soprano, you look at Wilson Fisk, you look at in this case Cornell. It is this idea that, you know, we are criminals, but we are the organized criminals, and that organization is important to keep order. That in order for a place like Pops to exist, in order for Pops to be Switzerland, it requires us to be an organized criminal organization.
Well, I mean, that's the way it is with everything in life. It's a push and a pull, and the whole point of life is finding the balance between the push and the pull. Now, if it was all push or all pull, none of it would work. You know what I mean? So life will always be like the balance between the people trying to do good, and they need the people doing the bad in order to find the common line, because none of us are happy stepping foot on either side exclusively, you know?
Well, yeah. Although I guess in the superhero narrative, it's a much more black and white structure where it is.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, until we get the Punisher series, although honestly, I'm very worried about that, because I've never felt the Punisher is a strong enough character to hold his own arc.
I mean, do you think he did a good enough job, Baratheon did in the Daredevil show?
No. I'm not questioning the actor. I'm questioning the character that the actor is being asked to portray. The problem for me with the Punisher is always that the Punisher, essentially, the arc of the Punisher is either he's good at his job, in which case his job gets done quickly, or he's bad at his job, in which case he just continues to go on. And this is essentially what you see with the Punisher comic book. You know, everyone knows who the boss of the criminal organizations are. It's Wilson Fisk. It's Hammerhead. It's this guy or that guy. We all know who the bosses are. And Wilson Fisk never gets within a mile of any of these guys. I mean, the closest he has ever gotten is just recently. There actually is a current Kingpin comic out, in which basically Kingpin totally beats the heck out of the Punisher. Doesn't kill him, because, the writer isn't authorized to kill the Punisher, but decides to basically hang him up on his wall and starts monologuing to him before he makes his escape. Because of course it's all about monologuing. And that's my basic criticism of the Punisher. I think that they might be able to do it as a short Netflix series. I don't expect a Punisher season 2. And I think that basically what you'll get is, if you do a Punisher season 2, it's gonna, much like every Punisher series, the longer it goes, the more degraded it gets. Because there's just, it's like you can either have the Punisher question his arc, which is this arc of, I need to kill mobsters, or you can have him just keep on killing mobsters. But if he just every episode, I'm going to kill some mobsters today, it's a very rote story. The only drama comes is when he has to question it. And you can have him question it by having, as has happened in Punisher War Journal and some other things, where basically he's taken other people's families from them. So people who were criminals, who've had their children, who their parents have been killed, come after Frank Castle, Or the other way to do it is that he could remain steadfast on his view that he needs to go out and kill these people, and the world will never stop giving you worthy people to kill, people that deserve to be killed, at least according to his viewpoint. So I think where it can be interesting is if the world around him reacts to it and questions it all the time, and does he get to win them over or not, the reporters or the police chief or somebody, And I think that the drama can be there in whether he's able to win somebody over or not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that historically, when you look at Punisher comic books, and this is, of course, this is the CageCast, but it's fun to talk about the Punisher too, just because these are all interconnected stories. Historically, when you look at the Punisher books, they do run. They'll run 1 year, they'll run 2 years, which are decent runs for a lot of second tier characters. The thing is that the Punisher himself is really a first tier character. He is a very iconic Marvel character, but his story just tends to peter out. The problem for the Punisher is he doesn't have Batman's moral code. So, for Batman, he can never kill the Joker because that's his moral code. So you can keep on bringing back the Joker to have that. You can rerun that story, and it's all about Batman's struggle with his moral code versus dealing with his real problem. Whereas the Punisher, the first chance he has is to kill his Joker, who is currently most commonly played up as a character named Jigsaw, who will be in the series. As much as, the Punisher will kill Jigsaw just as soon as look at him. It's just that he, by random chance, he hasn't had the chance yet, but he will certainly kill Jigsaw at some point. It's only Deus Ex Machina that keeps Jigsaw alive. And that's a little different than what I think the Batman arc is, which is an ongoing arc, but anyway, let's get back to this episode. So, the basic plot line of this episode is, we are getting back from, last episode when our, essentially we had our establishment. Here's all our main players. Here's all the characters. And we see, at the last episode we had, essentially what happens is Cornell has set up this big deal. I want to say his name is Julio. And I'm not sure if he's supposed to be Puerto Rican or Cuban. And it's very confusing to me because they've later episodes they have a Cuban flag hanging in his thing, but I think he's actually supposed to be Puerto Rican. I'm not quite sure. I think he's officially Puerto Rican because they reference Cubans, but it's a Cuban flag hanging in their office. So goodness only knows. Anyway, so he makes this deal to sell the weapons to
I think the Mexicans, right?
No, whatever Julio is. He's not Mexicans. We don't have a lot of Mexicans in New York. We have mostly Puerto Ricans but anyway, I'm going to sound really racist in a minute, so let me stop right there. No, I don't think they've actually mentioned Mexicans at all in this. Okay. Yeah, Mexicans, they're down in the Southwest, and, it's about proximity, you go where it's easy to go. And we have a very large Puerto Rican community in New York City, which is nice. Although as a Detroiter who was raised on Mexican food, it was always a big bother to me that it came out to the East Coast and there wasn't nearly enough good Mexican out here.
So, I mean, to me, the narrative of this episode is really getting, what's the kid's name who stole the money? The final one left.
Chico.
So Chico comes back finally to the barbershop and Pops is all happy to see him. And then, one of the guys who's playing chess with Bobby Fish, I think his name is, right?
Well, Bobby Fischer is playing chess with Turk. Now, Turk is
Turk, yeah. So Turk sees him, and then he goes up and rats on him, and that's where where the interesting stuff starts to happen in this episode.
No, it's interesting with Turk. Turk is a character from the books. And actually, here's what I'm going to say. Turk gets actually a really nice arc in this.
Yeah? Well, I mean, he's coming from the Daredevil show, so he's kind of a character we fell in love with on that show, too.
Exactly.
So it's nice to see them bring him back.
Yeah, he's kind of the Stan Lee of the Netflix universe right now. Is Turk? He's going to be in everything. They're going to be in Infinity War, and they're just going to be Turk like, hey, I'm just here to sell some Infinity Gems. I don't know, man. I got myself a Tesseract here. I was told to come here and drop it off. That's all I know. But that's Turk, and Turk is, but of course Turk, and of course, and this is, I believe they say his name was Tron, the guy who makes the executive decision to shoot up Pop's barbershop.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah, this was his last episode too.
Yeah. It seemed like a really, really giant leap to take to bring that kind, everybody knows Pops is Sweden. But it seemed like an odd choice for him to be like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go in guns blazing and shoot the place up.
Well, this is a trope of the narrative of criminality. There's always a guy, and you actually see this, it's interesting with the Shades character, you see the exact same dynamic, but played more intelligently. And the idea is people that are always trying to move themselves up on the board.
Yeah.
And this character thought, well, the way to do it is, he says, is it important for Chica to come in breathing? And, and of course, Cornell says, I don't want to talk about that right now. I want my money and I want my guy. I want my money. That's what I want, is I want the dang money. Now, of course, a more rational person would have said, okay, he just wants the money. This guy can walk free. This guy thought, no, he wants him dead. Or he's not going to mind if he's dead. But then he goes and he blows up Pops' barbershop. But of course, this is, like I said, this is the narrative of criminality that we see played over and over again in these books, or in these movies, books, everything. Someone who is a younger person coming up doesn't respect the tradition, and they seek to violate the tradition. Yep. And this is what gets us to this idea of organized crime is supposed to be organized. The point of organized crime is that there's a system, there's a procedure, we honor tradition, and we fit into, I don't know if you ever watch, do you ever watch the Venture Brothers, Mozz?
No, I might have seen an episode here or there.
Anyway, so here's the interesting thing about the Venture Brothers, is it is based on this idea that there is a strict codification in that universe of villains and heroes.
Huh.
Within the super science community, and there's actually this whole interesting bit where they say, look, we've got people out there with freaking death rays, and the only way you can have any control of someone with a death ray is if you all agree on what the rules are for people who have death rays. Here's how and so you have this Guild of Calamitous Intent and the Office of Secret Intelligence, OSI versus the Guild. And everything is based on this idea that we have to have this organization, because if someone starts breaking from the organization, everything very quickly is going to go south. And of course, what happens invariably in any story about criminality is someone breaks with the tradition and things start to go south. And in this case, that's what happens, is this guy that essentially this could have been the final episode of this series if, rather than blowing up Pops' barbershop, the guy just said, hey, we're here for Chico. Okay, Chico, come with us, bring the money. Whether or not you wake up tomorrow is going to be completely on Cornell's opinion. And the fact of the matter is Pops, a guy who's well versed in this, he's made his case, says you're getting your money, let's let this man walk out of here, let's let this man have his life. If Cornell wants to be magnanimous, Cornell's going to be magnanimous. But that gets short-circuited by the guy who breaks the tradition, who breaks the structure. And as a result, the entire point of it, this is as a result, Luke Cage gets his Uncle Ben. He gets the guy who has him say, now I must be the hero. Now I have to step up. He wanted me to step up. I always step down. But now they've taken this person from me. Now I am obligated to step up and take care of it. And that's the structure we get here. That's what happens. And as a result, everything that happens in the ensuing episodes are all because of the one guy that couldn't respect the traditions, that couldn't respect the order of the situation. But of course, that is, in its own way, also kind of symbolic of the superheroic dynamic. Is this idea that, once you have superheroes, all the bets are off. Once you have, weapons of mass destruction in the streets, either by humans who are living weapons of mass destruction, or you have just actual weapons of mass destruction being sold to people.
Right.
Things have changed.
It's like saying, if we're all playing the game, if they're not playing by the rules, or if the rules have changed, I got to play by the new set of rules. I can't keep playing by the old set of rules when half the team is playing by the new set of rules.
Well, exactly. And at the same time, and it's at once a difficult problem in the story, and it is also the most logical thing. It's at once disturbing. It's like, oh, how can they violate the tradition? And then at the same time, it's like, well, actually, they kind of make their point. They kind of have a valid argument to be made here.
Yeah.
And I do think that's what we're getting.
And in that scene, I think there were certain moments in this episode for me. Mm-hmm. He was really, really good in that scene. He was really powerful. And that was one of those moments that I thought, hey, okay, I'm on board. I feel for this character.
Well, and I have to say this. I do think that Michael Coulter really, as an actor, it's always this problem with superheroic storylines is, you have to find an actor who can convey the depth of the character. Yeah. And these characters aren't really surface characters. As much as people like to think they are, they tend to not be. And I think Michael Coulter has definitely brought to the stage something strong. We remember back in the day of guys like Reb Brown and Lou Ferrigno, who I love. I love both of them. I'm not going to fault them. I loved Cage. If you ever get the chance to see Reb Brown and Lou Ferrigno in a film together, pick up Cage. I'm pretty sure that was a New World Cinemas film. And it's a fun, enjoyable piece. And they're not bad actors, but the fact of the matter is that, Michael Coulter is coming into this age where, if you're a relatively in shape guy, they're going to pay some guy to get you looking like a superhero, and then you can go back to eating, roles after we're done shooting.
Right.
And then, but they have these actors who can pull it off, and I think Mike Coulter definitely did. Alfred Woodard, who of course is our Mariah Dillard, and honestly, she just becomes better and better as the series goes on.
Absolutely. Well, that's a legit actress who's she's got chops.
Yeah. I was really worried almost a bit when they actually cast her in Civil War, because it was like, is this going to tie in? But no, that's just a different character. They just happen to be identical cousins. Which
now here's the thing. As far as we're talking about actors who can pull it off, the one character I'm still having issues with is Shades. I don't know what it is about him, but he just first of all, I don't know where he stands in the hierarchy. Because in the first episode, he comes down like an emissary from an outside authority figure and here to lay down the law. And you think, okay, maybe he's above Cottonmouth. But in all the scenes in this episode, he's almost acting like a subordinate to Cottonmouth. Like when Tron or whatever tells him Pop's dead, and he immediately turns around and he goes, I tried to tell him. I tried to warn him. I told him to wait.
Well, yeah.
I was like, okay. And then, I don't know, he doesn't seem scary at all, but he seems to think he seems scary, and something about that seems off to me.
And I think that this is one of these things where I think Shades is informed the more you watch. And like I said, so Shades and Tron are essentially doing the same thing. It's just that Shades is more intelligent about the way he does it.
All right.
Shades is trying to upset the apple cart and move himself up. He just knows that you don't move up by taking the bold move. You move up by making the move that the other guy doesn't see. And, to that extent, with Bobby Fischer, who is a central character in this, and the chess motif, that's the idea. Is you don't want to telegraph your move. You don't want to say, I'm here to move myself and be the big guy on campus. It's like, no, you sit back and you do everything you can and you just say just enough to get people to make their own bad choices.
Right.
I mean, to that extent, I wouldn't be surprised if even a guy, Shades was, here's the thing about Shades. This was actually my biggest problem my biggest confusion with Shades. I thought for certain he had laser eyes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So spoilers for the rest of the season. Shades doesn't have laser eyes.
Oh.
It's real disappointing to me. But like every time he like lifts up the glass, I'm just, here comes the laser eyes. And it's like, oh no, we don't get that.
You know what? That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I think the actual character in the books eventually does get laser eyes, but at this point he doesn't have that. Although I will say, about 10 episodes on, watch for it. There's a great shout out to Winter Soldier and the elevator scene with Shades.
Ooh. Okay.
Which, it's a different take on it, but it's like you go, oh, they're so doing Winter Soldier here. Okay. So Mozz, any final thoughts on the episode?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought there was a lot that I really, really enjoyed about this episode. And surprisingly, the moment where I feel like I was hook, line, and sinker, the one that really got me was Cottonmouth's reaction to Pop's death. When he tells him that, and that guy he's such a great actor. Mm-hmm. From House of Cards and everything. It just, I don't know, it implied a world bigger than what we were seeing on screen. And it was a really powerful moment. That's the scene that really, really got me. I thought that was really good. And then, like, the crescendo at the end of the episode, when you finally get back to the scene that we opened with, Luke's speech about Crispus Attucks is just incredible. It's so visceral and raw. And for a character like him that doesn't like to curse at all, for him to use that word implies that he's in such an exaggerated emotional state. And when he turns around and calls the kid the N-word, it's just such powerful, pointed, like laser-focused anger. It's just unbelievable. And it was a great place for the episode to end. And it finally got me to that point where we're going, oh, God damn it, what is he going to do next? You know?
Yes. Well, we see that next episode, so tune in next week, kids. By the way, the actor is Mahershala Ali. We'll just call him Mr. Ali for right now. But he's who plays Cornell. And just an awesome actor, no doubt about that. I mean, really, this is without a doubt the really some of the finest acting I've seen yet on a Marvel series, and I'm really impressed by that. And that's what gets me. That's what has kept me coming back to it. It's so well acted, so well performed. Even when they do stuff that is a little on the nose, even when they do stuff that's a little cliche and hackney and corny. And for what it's worth, they will call out when they're being corny. They will say that is so corny.
It does have sort of like a musical theater feel to it. The way the acting is really broad and hammed up a little bit, you know.
Yeah, but it's really been a fantastic series, and this I think the second episode. I mean, for me, the second episode made it for me. Like I said, Pop's death, the Uncle Ben moment, is what makes this series for me, and then everything that goes on, you're just along for the ride. You know, as I always say, don't judge by the pilot. You got to get through the pilot.
Yep.
Okay. Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, if they'd like to know more about the man, the myth, the legend that is Mozz, how can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. Just look for Mozz Manzor. It's MOZZMANZOOR.
Yes. Because I'm sure there are no other Mozz Manzors in the entire world.
Very, very few.
Yeah, actually, it might be. I have no idea how common the last name Manzor is, or the first name Mozz.
It's quite common.
Oh, okay. So there we go. So, but he's the guy who has a podcast. And if you'd like to look for me, now I've got all the social media, so pay attention, kids. Write to me in the old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And follow me along on Twitter as I live tweet various things, including Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Incredible Hulk for our GammaCast podcast on the Age Reboot Overdrive, and of course, Legends of Tomorrow on the Legends of DC feed. I'm all over the place here on Southgate Media. Follow me on Twitter at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. Oh, sweet Christmas, kids. This has been another wonderful CageCast. Come and cage with us again. I don't know. I got to work on our outro, but thanks for listening, folks. Good night.
Good night.